Big g'day and welcome to the first ever edition of the RDFNL Grand Final Footy Show. We're live here at the Melton Toyota showrooms. My name's Jenny. I've got a star-studded cast with me from going through the left right to the very end. I've got Tara Murray from the Melton, Mirrabul, Sunbury and Macedon Rangers Star Weekly. You getting excited for Grand Final week?
It is. It's the best time of year and it doesn't get any bigger than this.
Fantastic. We've got Paul Turner, who's the guru here at Highlands FM, mate. Certainly a massive week coming up, and no doubt we're looking forward to some of the excitement you might be able to spread over the grand final, mate.
It's one of the biggest weeks in footy in the local area, that's for sure, and it's certainly generating some excitement in the area, and everyone's really looking forward to it.
And of course, we've got the great man Gav Spall, who is Mr. Football, who has got the ambition to get a life membership at every RDFNL club. He's got pretty much 10 more to go. This is your most exciting time of the year, mate.
Yeah, love finals footy. We bow a medal leading into grand final day, and grand final day is always the most exciting day of the year. So really looking forward to this week, and looking forward to seeing some cracking contests.
Now, it's great to be down here at the Melton Toyota showrooms as well, and Paulie, they've been great supporters of Highlands FM over the course of the finals.
They have Melton Toyota and also Macedon Rangers Glass have been fantastic supporters of us. We wouldn't be here without them, and they've come and saved us, and we're really pleased to have them on board.
Now we've got a superstar lineup of guests to join us over the course of the program. Of course, this being a first time ever, we've got Kim Bailey from the RDFNL. She'll be talking netball. We've also got Alan Watson from the Lancefield Football Netball Club. Paulie, we've got a few other stars from the football department as well.
We've got the Macedon coach Jeff Andrews, and from Rupertswood Paul Nichols. So we've got all the coaching staff covered for the day. They're going to give us an in-depth, and we'll question them on what we think should happen and what they believe is going to occur on the day. So it's foreign territory for both of them. So new ground, and we're looking forward to hearing what they got to say.
Yeah, no, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Well, we're going to cut across to a quick break here on Highlands FM, broadcasting live at the Melton Toyota showrooms here. And coming up next, we'll be talking all things netball. We'll be having the great man Alan Watson joining us, and we'll have Kim and Tara, and we'll get ready to dissect some of the big games happening this weekend. Yes, well, welcome back to the Melton Toyota showrooms. Of course, the great team at Melton Toyota, very proud sponsors of Highlands FM and the RDFNL, and just gearing up for what is a fantastic week of grand final fever here in the RDFNL. And joining us for this special segment, we've got Alan Watson, who is the Lancefield coach, and of course we've got Kim Bailey, who runs all the netball at AFL Goldfields. Kim, thanks for jumping on board. Certainly an exciting week for you. I know we've got a couple of grand finals we're going to go through this weekend, but this is the big one on Sunday that we're focusing on.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic season. We're really looking forward to a great day. We've got a number of different teams in. Rupertswood, congratulations to them. They've got 3 teams in. Romsey have got 1, and Diggers 2, and Macedon 1. So not a bad spread, but we've had some fantastic netball, and it just keeps getting stronger and stronger.
Fantastic. Well, Tara, I know certainly a big game that we've got coming up, the big local rivalry between Lancefield and Romsey. I know you've been all over Lancefield. I'll let you grill the great man, put him under the microscope.
Obviously for Lancefield, first grand final since 2004. How's that feel? Well, A-grade grand final anyway.
It's a bit different. The club and the town are hugely excited. I believe they're actually putting posters all around town promoting it at the moment. So to say they're excited would possibly be an understatement. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yep. And obviously you mentioned that it's been a few years in the making. You guys made finals a couple of years back for the first time in a long time. Missed them last year, which was disappointing, but now you're back up there and through to a grand final.
Yeah, we've been thereabouts, sort of hovering around near the bottom of the group, and we've missed out by a percentage and a game on the odd time, but we just had a little bit more consistency with access to players and able to have players playing more on a regular basis, which at times has been an issue, but this year's been a lot more easier to transition and keep the players on court, hence the results.
Now, Kim, we can highlight the rivalry between the two sides. They've had a few big games this year, and as one of the big talking points is that during the home and away season, level at three-quarter time on both occasions, they know how to fight out a close encounter, don't they?
Oh, yeah, and I think if you look at these two teams, they're full of VNL players and lots of experience. And if you have a look at some of the lineups, I think T's lineup on either Steph Symes or Sarah Swiskowski will be one of the features, Alan.
Yeah, I know Sarah. I've actually coached Sarah as well, and also coached Steph. I know Steph as well. So they're good defenders, and we'll have to be right on top of our game to actually get over the top of them. We're hoping for a dry day. That seems to suit us better, and it's been a wet month the last month or so. So no, I think the forecast is going to be fine for Sunday. So
Yeah, I think
fingers
so.
crossed.
Yeah, and one of the highlights I think for what I've seen lately is the addition of Maddie Gay into your team. I think she's injected a lot
Yes.
through the mid-court.
Yeah, Maddie and Taylor played together at Melbourne Uni, and they've got that really strong connection. And they often say we throw the ball because we know she's going to go there and that sort of thing. And they have that sort of connection. It takes a fair while to actually build on that. So, yeah, Maddie's been a great pickup. She hasn't been able to play the entire year because of football commitments, because she's such a gifted sportswoman. But that's the way it is. So we're happy to have her as a bid player for us, and she's been a welcome addition to the club. And terrific kid as well, Maddie. So really nice girl.
And looking at it, footy fixtures have sort of fallen in your favour. They've got their footy finals on Saturday, netball
yes.
finals Sunday, so a bit of luck there
Yeah,
with
we
Maddie
sorta-
and Taylor.
We sort of had the crossover. Footy was played last Sunday, and the netball, was on the Saturday, and this week it crosses over again. So, and they've made finals again in football. So we're lucky that it sort of fell that way. So otherwise it would have been a bit of drama.
Alan, you've had a fair bit of history over at the Lancefield the last couple of years. How have you enjoyed sort of settling into the environment at the Tigerland?
Look, it's taken a while, and I think just getting the right culture at the club. This is my 4th year, and Liam Backwell and the committee have been fantastic because, unfortunately, unlike some the local clubs, they invest in their football and their netball, which is fantastic. So without their support, we wouldn't be here. So you have to have a strong grounding behind the scenes, and we've been fortunate enough to actually have that. And we've changed. There's been a couple of players come and go, and that's fine, but they weren't sort of suiting the culture of the club. And this year we had 16 extra players turn up the trial, so we had to turn people away. So it's testimony to what we're actually doing at Lancefield, and I think we're starting to get the rewards we've actually been searching for. So we had A, B and C grade in finals this year, and they can't remember the last time they actually did that. So it's all small steps, and we're progressing in the right direction.
Yep, and obviously right direction now. You've got the grand final. You go into the game as underdogs. Do you think you can take it out?
Look, it's a 2-horse race, and we're one of the horses in the race, so we love the fact of being underdogs because we don't have the pressure on us to win. And I certainly think we actually match up well against Romsey. Our last game, our last final, we didn't play that well, and credit where it's due, they actually got some goals in junk time, and the game was done and dusted. But we'll step up the park. We've had 3 games, I think, and there's been 4 goals between us. So up until then, it's been really close. So they'll have the pressure on them. We'll just turn up and play, give it our best shot, and see how we go. But I'm certainly confident we've actually got the ability to beat anyone on the day. But we have to put in a 4-quarter effort, and we understand what we're going to get against Romsey. It's going to be a tough match.
Kim, one of the pleasing aspects about Lancefield is that they do have a good partnership between the goal attack and the goal shooter, which is good consistency for them over the course of the year.
Chris, I think you know my opinions on that, and they do. Courtney and T, they share the load, and I think that's really important. You see a lot of shooters that will shoot, 75, 80%, but these two seem to share the load under the ring, and I think what Alan's got is the versatility to swap them out. He can put T back underneath the ring and have Courtney feeding and vice versa, and I think that's one of the assets of your team.
We've been quite strong in that area, so we're switching around a little bit recently, and it'll be a horses for courses on the weekend, so we'll see how it goes. If it doesn't work, we'll just switch it around. Both players are more than capable of doing that and playing both positions well, so we're pretty pleased with the versatility we have.
It's quite a different lineup than what Romsey have. Your both tutors aren't big girls, they're not tall, solid girls that can sit hand underneath the ring and just hang there and be that post, so it's more of a moving ring.
Yeah, it is, and T in particular, Courtney's got the speed, but she's got a really good dodge and change of direction, so she tends to lose a player a lot in the ring. And T just seems to time moving towards the ball at the last minute and sort of cuts the defender out. So she's very clever,
graceful, isn't she?
very clever in that regard. So yeah, they're a really good combination. So I've been really pleased with both of those girls. So hopefully they'll bring it all together again on Sunday.
And I really like your defensive combination. You've left them there they've been together 2 years, 3 years now?
Yeah, a couple of years. Annika's been a new addition, Annika Shearer in defence. They put Annika more back into the circle because of her closing speed. And she reads the play really well, and it may have something to do with the fact that you've been coaching her at Ballarat to keep her on her own.
Who knows?
Who knows? But and she's versatile. She's really always had good closing speed, and she's times the ball beautifully and reads the play well. So she's been terrific, and with Ash Height back there for a bit of height and aggression. So we've got a fair bit of versatility, as well as throwing Maddie Gay back into wing defence. Maddie Gay went back into wing defence last week, and their wing attack was giving us a fair bit of trouble from Melton, and I actually thought she actually closed it down.
Yeah,
so,
I agree with you. I said today to Chris that was one of the turning points of that game.
Yeah,
I think Maddie just took Sally Potbury straight out of the game.
Yeah, and the moves worked, and it was Annika back into goal defence, and Maddie wing defence, and Paula Broadstruck back into centre. So they don't always work, but on this occasion it did. So there's a fair bit of versatility there for players to play in different positions and play them well. So they're good.
And probably that versatility is really important for you guys because Romsey has a lot more depth. They've got those players they can bring off the bench where you're switching the players on the court, they're bringing players on and off. So that's pretty important, that versatility.
Yeah, well, I think so. And we don't have to rotate players, and it's a little bit like the AFL, which I don't believe in, and they're actually rotating their best players off rather than putting in a different position and resting them in a different position. So we've got our best players on the court all the time, and they're fit enough to be able to run out 4 quarters of netball. So we're confident they'll give a good showing.
Fantastic, Al. Well, we do appreciate you joining us over here at the Melton Toyota showrooms. Of course, the team at Melton Toyota do a fantastic job, proud sponsors of Highlands FM and the RDFNL. We'd like to wish you all the best, mate, on the big day. We have no doubt that the girls will put up a terrific fight on the day, and they'll be well coached by yourself, and we wish you all the best on the day.
Good on you, Yandy. You'll be looking forward to the Kiss of Death coming on later for the tips.
Oh, that will be frightening. Coming up next year on the RDFNL Grand Final show, we'll be talking up Romsey's chances of beating Lansfield on the weekend, and we'll go through all the other games in the netball. Al, thanks so much for joining us, and best of luck again for the day.
Thanks, Yandy.
Welcome back to the RDFNL Grand Final show, live here at the Melton Toyota showrooms. We've got Nabi Ray, we've got Taro and the team. What a fantastic time it is around this time of year, and I'm going to give a big shout out to Dylan Wright. Did you catch him on my phone during the break there? But just updating the Facebook page, making sure that those who are just catching little bits and pieces, you can watch the full replay on Friday afternoon. Very much looking forward to that. But now it's time to dissect Romsey's A-grade netball side. Kim, Tara, this is going to be one of the great teams we've seen in this season. A team that has taken down Macedon in 2017 and knocked them out of the finals. Well, en route to anyway.
Well, yeah, I think pre-season we both said we thought Romsey was one of the stronger teams in the competition, if not the strongest, and then they signed Melly Brock during the season as well. So they were my pre-season favourites, and it's no surprise to see them in the grand final like they are.
Yeah, they were my pre-season favourites. You have a look at their team, it's just chock full of stars. Like Amelia Brock, who is an ANL player and a championship player. Al McDonald, who to me is the best centre player in the competition, a championship player. And Sarah Swazkowski is also a VNL and ANL player. And then you've got other girls scattered in there. Kaylee Armstrong's a Div 1 player, champ, and Chelsea Ross has played VNL as well. So they're just a star-studded team. But in saying that, Lansfield have got some talent in their team as well.
It is, and as we've seen, I think the final against these two teams, it was a blowout, but previously that had 3 matches separated by a total of 4 goals. So they do match up pretty well. Yeah,
it's one of the teams, Lansfield are one of the teams that have pushed them the most. And you look at the matchups and you can see why. I really like Lansfield's mid-court, especially Paula Broadstock, I think, is a really underrated player. She's really strong and has a real aggression to the ring, and she has a lot of beautiful circle edge feeds rather than trying to ping it to the goalers mid-court. So that's a real plus for them. And then they're so strong, though, in their reset they set up. They've got Annika there, or they've got Ash Height. And Liv Pals is another girl that's... I've coached Liz before, and she's got a lot of talent, and she's agile for such a tall girl as well.
It is, and I think there's, you mentioned all those options, and even you look, Maddie Gay to that mid-court, I think has been a big addition for them. It adds that more depth for it and gives them different options because you can play wing attack, wing defence or centre.
Yeah, and look, she was the difference on the weekend. I know she didn't play a full game. I think she might have to go to football or something like that, but that move, putting her onto Sally Portbury the other day was amazing, and it just changed the whole game. So yeah, very versatile. You can swing her into goal defence if you have to, but I wouldn't think Elle would do that. But she's such a strong centre player. I really like her there. But then if you need her in defence, you just drop her back to wing D. So yeah, very lucky to have her, and she's a great player. And I think hers and Taylor's foray into football has helped them with their netball physically because they're much tougher at the ball now than what they used to be. So yeah, it'll be a really good match up there, and I think if she plays on Elle McDonald, I'll be really looking forward to watching that.
I think so, and obviously Maddie played VNL as well. And the interesting, I think, aspect for the Redbacks is going to be who they play on the court because they do have so many options on the bench. Last time they still had Danny Davison, who wasn't 100% on the way back from injury. Bronwyn Blair didn't play in the semi-final between the two sides as well, so they've got plenty of options on and off the court.
Yeah, Bronny was in Bali, I think, and I don't think Danny will play. She injured her knee in, I think, the last round of the year and missed VNL finals as well, which she was pretty devastated for. But, they have got just an array of talent, and Hope Evans hasn't been on the court. I think she's been on the court for one quarter. Hope's been a stalwart of that club, has had some injury concerns as well. But I would expect to see her at some time on the court. But I think the last 2 weeks, Millie's really just put her foot down and said, I am this superstar player that I've promised. We haven't saw it much during the home and away season because there's been so much movement. But that first game against Lansfield was exceptional. And she was the reason, one of the key reasons why they won the game.
Yeah, and that day that partnership with Chelsea Ross really worked that day. Sometimes their goal in attack doesn't always connect, but it really connected well that day.
Yeah, and the first game, Chelsea had a shocker, and she won't mind me saying that because I've told her. And so Bronwyn came on and filled that void, and Bronwyn was sensational. She's been mainly playing wing defence, but they were able to move her in, and she did the job. But the next week, again, Chelsea went into goal attack and most probably played the best game I've seen her play for a long time as well. So they're so versatile, and that's the strength of their team.
Yep, and there'll be some decisions who starts at goal attack come the grand final. Do you stick with Chelsea, who played so well that game, or Bronwyn, who was the difference against Macedon the week before?
Yeah, it's a tough decision to make, isn't it? And it's, oh God, you'd love to have that problem all the time. I think I'd go with Chelsea. I think she's got the runs on the board for the whole season. But, we said we've got some options. You can even move Millie out to GA and put Hope back into shooter. They've got so many combinations that they've tried all season, so they'll know what's matched up. It'll just see, they'll have to make the decision about who's the defensive unit, if they've got Annika into goals or out on wing D, because it'll be a size match-up as well. They're a taller team, Romsey, and that's a big advantage that they've got.
It is, and probably one of the underrated people for Romsey this year is Lauren Angwin. The lesser name of the player, and she's played really, really well at wing defence. I know I've seen her play a little bit at wing attack, a little bit of centre. She's sort of been thrown around that mid-court, but she's a really experienced head on that side. Yeah, look, I've coached and played with Lauren a lot, and she's been a great player. She's actually a goal defence to start with, but she's moved it just into the mid-court, and she's has a really great, strong wing defence, and I thought she had an awesome game the other day, last week. So that'll be a really good matchup on Taylor Watson. Taylor's had a really good season as well, and as Alan said, she's got this connection with Maddie Gay. And they just seem to let the ball go, turn and release, and they do it really well. So if Lauren can stop that, that'd be really interesting to see the turnovers that she gets, conversions from that. That's what wins you the games. And I think she picked off 4 or 5 last week and got them back up, and they converted when they played the first week. So, yeah, interesting. We'll see what happens. And you mentioned that Lauren didn't play that first quarter of that game, and they were trailing, so she's come on and had a real impact. Yeah, look, she has. And, they just keep building, Romsey. They just think of that first quarter the last quarter against Macedon in that first round. They can just turn it on like that. It was a 20-goal to 1 quarter. So they can do it attack-wise, but they can also do it defensive. So whether they can do it to Lansfield's another thing. I think T is most probably one of the keys to the game. She's such a strong player. If she can dominate, I think Lansfield may be in with a chance. Yeah, exactly. It's going to come down to whether they can get it down to that end. And you've got two strong goalers down there who are both very different, and probably not your goalies you see in every side. As you mentioned, a lot of them have that tall goaler.
Yeah.
Lansfield don't have that, so that sort of changed it up from what the defensive units are used to.
And Courtney's very unassuming. No one sort of gives her any credit. She just flies under the radar, but you know she complements T very well, and their fast ball movement. Like T just did the most beautiful pass into her that what I've ever seen. I think last week to Courtney, and they've got a sixth sense with each other. But T's just so strong, and I like her out at goal attack. I like the defensive pressure that she applies to the mid-court. I don't think Courtney gives as much defensively as what T does. So I'd be, if I was Alan, I'd be most probably running her out at GA.
And you mentioned that T's played a bit of GA VNL championship with City West Falcons, so that's where she's been playing for them, and they're always one of the sides that are up there. So she's been getting a lot of experience at that higher level.
Look, she's got that high level experience. Nicole Richardson and Mark Lynn, you know, two of the absolute legends of coaching in Victoria, have had her under a wing, and you can tell the style of netball that she plays. She's a very talented young lady.
Girls, just quickly, who's your tip and why for this big A-grade grand final between Romsey and Lansfield?
I'm still going with Romsey. I've said from the start of the season, and they haven't done anything wrong. I think that last quarter against Macedon was the best quarter I've seen all season of netball. And to turn it on like that, there's not many teams can do that, so that's why I'm sticking with Romsey.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I've stuck with them from the very first show that we did together, Chris, didn't
That's
I?
right.
I said, yeah, look, I'd love it to be a good game, but I think it'll be a bit of a blowout. I just think they're too strong. You just look at their list and... goodness gracious, it's a VNL Div 1, if not a championship team that they've got there.
Yep, star-studded lineup. Now, we've got a few other games to build up to that one, starting with the under-19s in the morning. Kim, what's the big game that we've got there to start proceedings?
Yeah, so Rupo will take on Macedon. A little bit of an upset here because we actually thought that we'd see Wood End. They've had a really great season and they've blooded a lot of young kids through. The league best and fairest, Taylor Ranieri's played for them and has done a great job. But they got knocked out by Macedon, who played a fabulous game last week. But, you know, Rupert's Wood... they've just got so much strength all over the court with their kids, and I really can't see them getting beaten. I think this will be their game.
Yeah, I'm the same. I thought Wood End would get through as well. And you look at it, if Rupert's would get up this year, it's a fourth straight year undefeated with 4 championships. You can't do much better than that. And you look, their A-grade side has so many under-19 players as well. They could have a lot stronger side than what they've got. They've got so many younger players through that whole entire list.
So they've pushed some of their kids up into their B-grade, C-grade and A-grade, and it's just a credit to their junior program that they have. So, yeah, look... Macedon, who knows, but I'd be very surprised if they got up and won. But Rupert's Wood, I don't think they've dropped a game this season.
No.
C-grade's going to be a mouth-watering contest because we've seen a few good games in that particular grade over the course of the finals.
Yeah, so Diggers Rest made their first finals for some time in C-grade, and that's fantastic for them. They've got their B-grade team in as well. So their netball program under... Sarah Carroll and Amy Carroll has really picked up. But they play another Rupert's Wood team that's full of young kids. They've been so strong throughout the whole season again, and I can't see... it'll be a tough game, but I think they'll get the victory.
Yeah, I'm the same. And I spoke with Sarah Carroll during the week, and they're pretty excited down there at Diggers Rest. I think first time since 2009, their B and C grade teams are both in grand finals, and they said there's a lot of determination there, and they've got a bit of confidence sort of going from their B grade side winning a couple of weeks ago, because it was the first time a Diggers Rest side had beaten a Rupert's Wood side in the netball comp since they came across. So for them, it gives them confidence that they can match it with these top sides.
Not only was it the first time that Diggers have beaten them, it was the first time that Rupert's Wood had ever lost a game in B grade, would you believe? So what an effort that is for them. So, but it give the whole club, you know, a real buoyancy that they can actually do that. So I don't think their C grade will be going in and thinking we can't win that game. No one does that. But I think C grade, it'll be a good game. But I think, as I said, Rupo will be too strong.
Yeah, I think the same too.
B grade, I think we see these two sides go head to head again.
Yeah, this will be a really interesting game. As we said, it was a 1-goal deficit the last time, and it was a really exciting game, come down to virtually the last second, and Diggers got the victory. And I just hope that they haven't played their grand final already by getting over that. But they're pretty evenly matched, really. I think, you know, on form-wise, though, it's really hard. to pick against a team that's lost one game in 4 years, isn't it?
And that's what I think. And will there be a lot more hunger now from Rupert's Wood, because they've had that loss? They haven't had that for a while, so they're not going to be happy with that. And obviously, we know Di McCormack loves to win, and the coach in there, and I can see that in the side too. I think Rupert's Wood will bounce back.
Yeah, I think it'll be really close. But in saying that, I think Sarah Carroll has just as much drive there as well as what Di has, and she's pulled that team together. And the Diggers Army will be out in force, believe me. But, you know, I'd love to see the Boroughs get up. I coached them back in 2009 when they won their last B-grade grand final. So there's a little bit of a soft spot there, but I think just Rupa will be too strong.
Yep.
Fantastic. Well, Kim, we appreciate you joining us as part of the first ever RDFNL Grand Final football netball show here at the lovely Melton Toyota showrooms here. Great folks around to get a really good deal on a good car. We appreciate your time, and we know you've got a busy week ahead of you. We wish you all the best for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Melton Toyota for the 2017 RDFNL Football Netball Grand Final show, the first of its kind, and got Gav joining on the other side. We've got a special spot just sitting there for the man who needs no introduction. He'll be joining us in a few moments' time. The NAB Brian McNabb.
Yeah, looking forward to Nabby jumping on. He's always got an interesting story to tell. So, looking forward to Nabby jumping on.
I'm a little bit concerned, I must admit, that it could be a bit of a mistake because time will be of the essence here on the show. And I know we've got some senior coaches ready to jump on board, but I just think the way Nabby loves a chat, it could take up the next hour.
Yeah, that's a massive danger. There's no doubt about it. And, of course, Nabby can talk about himself and Melton Toyota for as long as you'll let him.
Now, it's certainly a very exciting week for yourself, mate. I know you've been on Highlands FM for a little while, but we'll give a little bit of a quick plug to Rockbank at the moment. Shaping off pretty well on the off-field department.
Yeah, no, it's been a really positive year, so we'll look to continue that. Of course, our under-19 netballers made it into the second week of the finals and did a great job there. But look, everything's been going really well. We've put in a lot of hard work. Our volunteers have certainly put the hard yards in this year, and we're really hoping that we can make sure that momentum flows into next year.
Fantastic, mate. And the Club 18s was a massive success as well.
Yeah, great to have the clubbies in there. They made the finals, which was good. And good to be able to field a side every week and get those guys out there. So, yeah, we were wrapped with it.
Fantastic. Well, look who just decided to mosey on and join us here in the lovely Melton Toyota showrooms here, mate. The great man, Brian Nabby McNabb. There is no one who's more excited about Grand Final week than you, mate.
Yeah, it's a pretty exciting time, really, isn't it, for everyone, both on and off the field.
Yeah, fantastic, mate. And we've got some lovely vehicles behind us, mate, as our backdrop. No doubt some great deals you've got going on there, mate.
Yeah, we've got an actual deal for Grand Final week. And just to talk about that first of all, if that's okay, Chris, what we're talking about is here certified used cars. What is a certified used car? It's a car, from our point of view, that we give it 100% backing to the degree where we do a 90-point check, where we give the person 12 months roadside assist. We can also talk about warranties, and we can also guarantee the service history of the particular vehicle. Toyota support us, we support that particular car, and obviously it's known as a certified vehicle, and it is $1,000 off our normal everyday, cheap price as it is.
And it is an RDFNL exclusive, Gav. We've got to get around it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the top quality cars down here at Melton Toyota. I know that out at Rockbank, Melton Toyota is a great supporter of our club, and our guys always get the push to come down here, and everyone who's purchased a car from our club in particular has certainly been over the moon with the service and the quality of the vehicles.
Yeah, no, we appreciate those words, and Rockbank, like most clubs, are very, very supportive, and Centrals as well, of course, and all the clubs for that matter, they're very supportive of their sponsors, and that's how it works, basically, a hand-in-hand situation. So, good for everyone concerned.
So, Nabby,
Yes.
that's a fantastic deal for the general RDFL community out there. Make sure you get on board, come down, see Nabby, he'll look after you. But have you got an additional Gavin deal? Or
Gav deal. Okay. Well,
Look out.
yeah, I did pull the chair in there a bit to anyone that comes through the door. Look, we're always open to offers, and that's what dealing with the our guests, our customer base is basically someone makes an offer. Sometimes we're not here to offend, but obviously we're here to make some money.
You've got to earn a living somehow, mate.
Somehow we do. We've got a bit of a few expenses to pay and so forth. But look, anyone that wants that vehicle, if they come through, make an offer, they see the right car they want. I say this nicely, bums normally end up on seats, and away they go, whether it's through our finance, which is Toyota Finance, with our warranties, our in-house warranties. There's lots of things we can offer people of the RDFL that probably is far and beyond what other car dealers may do.
Now, Gav, we've got to pump his tyres up, because when you're coming down here, you're getting quality. This bloke has won a massive award this year, and he's going to tell us all about it, because when you walk through those doors, you're getting quality salesmanship. What happened this year, mate? Tell us all about it.
Chris, I just hate the glory. Oh no, we were fortunate enough to win an award or two, and it has continued for a number of years. And it's whether it's through people, and I say good people from the RDFL, and obviously other leagues as well, and just the relationship that we do build, and we're here to support everyone that basically walks in the door. So awards are great, but at the same time we're here to enjoy the people that we actually do deal with.
And if you want to talk about relationships, absolutely, Nabby's the man. You're not only going to create a relationship for the purchase of the vehicle, but you're going to create an ongoing relationship, because Nabby's one of the good ones.
I appreciate those words. We try our utmost, and obviously, with grand final around the corner, whether it's the AFL or the RDFL, it's a great time of the year. Everyone seems to get a bit more bounce in their step. The good sides are running out, and a perfect example of that's this Sunday, where we've got the Macedon and the College, as I call them, both running out. And I reckon they're probably the two best sides, and probably a bit of justice in the league when you see the two best sides run out.
Fantastic. And just before we wrap up, mate, again, what deal have you got for us?
Okay, we've got our certified vehicles, which is our used car range. In very simple terms, $1,000 off. We actually guarantee, as a word, the service history. We guarantee, obviously, a full supply of 2 keys in most cases with the vehicles, if not 3, but I'll say definitely 2. We've done our independent 90-point check on the vehicle itself, and obviously full roadworthy in a complete detail. And our vehicles are, certified by Toyota, and as we know, Toyota is a worldwide company, and they support their product, and we support it just as well.
Fantastic. Well, we appreciate your time, mate, joining us here on the RDFNL Grand Final Show here in the lovely Melton Toyota showroom, Gav. It's what a way to create a little bit of history here in the lovely surroundings here at Melton Toyota.
Could not be in a better place.
Yeah, I just want personally to wish all the football sides and netball sides, Kim, netball, as we mentioned again, the best for Sunday, and may the best side win. They're both in football very well coached. The old mate Joffer over there is a bit of a legend from way back in time. I won't say how long ago when we first bumped into him, but he certainly's got a very good side, and obviously the College will certainly serve it up, and hopefully the best side wins.
Fantastic, mate. We appreciate your time, and thanks for the ongoing support of the RDFNL on 100.7 Highlands FM, and we'll catch up with you sometime down the track. Speaking of the College, we'll be getting some of the other quality senior coaches joining us right after this break here on 100.7 Highlands FM, and of course we're streaming on the highlandsfm.org.au website, which is streamed right through the RDFNL Facebook page. Back with more right after this. Welcome back to the RDFNL Grand Final Show here at the lovely setup here at the Melton Toyota showrooms. Fantastic people to have around the place. We've got a very special guest with us, Gav Paul. We've got the great man who's having a great year at Macedon, Jeff Andrews. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Thanks, Andy. Good to be here.
Just felt like I've done one of your training sessions, just running to the car to get the old camera. I'll never be able to saddle up at Macedon.
We'll find your spot on the wing, mate. No worries.
What, in the Club 18s next year?
Never know.
Now, boys, Macedon has been one of the premier teams in the competition this year. It's certainly a big year for them after what happened in the semi-final last year. They've come back and they've taken to every game like it is a grand final.
Well, 41 years since, I believe, 79 was the last time we were in the finals.
78 grand final.
78, so it's been a long period of time. This is your first one in where it's a one-tier competition, not a two-tier. And congratulations on getting there. I know how hard it is to coach and everything. It's a big effort to get them there. You've recruited a really fast-running team to suit your home ground, which is going to hold you in good stead. You must have been rubbing your hands together when you saw all the finals were on big grounds this year.
Yeah, I've got to admit that there was no worries, or it didn't worry us too much. We thought with playing every game on Tony Clark, which is obviously a big ground, and then Romsey was where the grand final was. Admittedly, you had to play in years gone by on small grounds to get to the grand final, but I suppose we're all in it to win it. So, a team that was going to be able to play well on Tony Clark every second week, and the big one was what we're all about.
And been able to recruit like the likes of Dan Markworth and Matty Dick and them India. I mean, they're local kids anyway, ex-AFL too. That's a huge coup for your club, and I understand your president's a very high profile and rather influential man, but it's some of your young kids who've been really impressed with Burgess, McConnell, Fisher, who's some of the under 18s, and then you see the benefit of having is it Kennelly? Is it?
Yep, Sam Keneally.
Keneally. And in the last game we saw you play, they kept you in it up to half time as your young kids before the stars started to roll.
Yeah, look, I think that's been one of the themes all year is that we've had a good spread. The best players from week to week have been different, and I'm really not sure who'd be winning our best and fairest. I think it'd be pretty close, and there's a number of that'll roll through the midfield, that'll play forward. So a good spread is, I think, what you need, and hopefully what we've been able to deliver so far.
And I think when you talk about good spread, we looked at the first contest, obviously, when you guys came up against Rupert's Wood. A lot of your top-end players, I suppose we'll call them, were down in the first half. But and those second-tier type players, Josh Clough was outstanding. You had some of those guys off that half-back line. I thought Clint Burgess was probably, for mine, best on ground that day. How important is it for those guys? Obviously, you want your Rolls-Royce, the top end, to perform early, but how important is it for those guys to contribute, especially coming up to a week like this week?
Yeah, look, everything we've done has been about the team playing well. So if anybody can have a bad day, but you can still contribute. It's cliches and it's footy, but we're not reliant on any one person having, or any two or three. We do generally rotate 9 or 10 through the midfield. So that means that there is an even spread. Everybody, again, a cliche. Everybody, if they play their role, we're confident of the type of footy we can churn out. And some days it just doesn't work for you. But as long as you're still contributing in other ways, then you can help the team, and that's what everybody in our team. If you come in, that's what's expected of you, and we've been able to get that contribution, which has led to a good consistent season. Yeah,
speaking of roles, one role that's confused me for one player all year is Matty Knox's role in your side. Looks like a player who we've seen him as a key forward down in Gisborne days. But it looks like you're not sure what to do with him. He sort of plays up and then goes up to centre forward. Sometimes you're throwing him in. He's wandering up around a ring. What role have you got for Matty Knox?
Look, Knoxie's our full forward, and at times, as you know, when you're in the forward line, the ball might not be coming in. So at times, we're happy for him to have a run in the midfield for 2 minutes and get a touch. Cookie plays a similar role in the forward line. So all of our forwards have got a licence to push into the midfield and grab themselves some minutes if they feel that they can contribute, give the other blokes in there a rest. But generally you'll see Knoxie. He was I think he won a second best and fairest at Woodend as a centre half back. So he's pretty versatile. So, that's another key to our side. Whilst it might confuse some people, the fact that we're pretty versatile means on game day you can throw the magnets and if something's not working, you can put a bloke in another position and know you should be able to turn it around.
Speaking of one of the keys, mate, is one of the favourites around the club, and he's the captain of your team, running around the number 1 Guernsey. You missed him last year through work commitments, but he's come back and he's been outstanding. Of course, we talk about James Nipper Wright. Usually in the past he's probably more of a standout player, but now he's playing with some extra quality around him. How has he sort of taken it to this year?
Yeah, look, I only spoke to him yesterday, and I said, "How are you going, mate?" And he said, "I can't stop smiling." So he's loving it. We both at this time last year were ruining missed chances and not being still alive. So he's loving it. His role is that contribute on game day. He plays in the midfield, he plays up forward, but he doesn't have to do it all anymore. And 3 years ago, in my first year when we finished down the bottom, Nipper was the standout. You could just about put your house that he'd win the best and fairest every year. But for us to go forward as a club, it didn't need to be all on the back of Nipper. So he's enjoying having other blokes around to share the load with, and he's looking forward to running out this Sunday. I mean.
He's a real barometer for you, because if Nipper starts well, and he always seems to kick an early goal for you, your club gets up and going. And if Nipper's held early, it tends to take you. You have to find another avenue, and it's a real dilemma for you. And a lot of players are, well, hang on, Nipper always gets 1 or 2 early goals, and he has, and he's a real hard at the ball. Sometimes his goal kicking can be a little bit wayward. We've seen him miss some ones, especially earlier in the year, that he should have kicked. But he's an older head and a very experienced player. But he is a real barometer for you, though.
Yeah, he is. He's not the tallest bloke in the world, but he puts great forward pressure on. I know there's every other club would love to have him running around for them. Left foot, right foot, doesn't matter. If you lead, he'll hit your laces out. He gives great effort, he's at different levels of football, he's one of the best I've ever seen at instructing and setting up, which everybody takes a fair bit out of. He's our Luke Hodge. Admittedly, most of the time he's in the forward line, but he's directing and setting things up. And look, I think a couple of times he mightn't have kicked goals, but he's still hitting the scoreboard. And if the ball's getting in there and he's having shots at goal, you can bet that not too long he'll be kicking goals.
All right, I know you've probably practiced the answer to this one repeatedly. Matty Dick, Daniel Markworth, Tegan Henderson, all three. 2 of them missed the second semi-final through injury, and Markworth was sore after the second semi-final with a quad.
Yep.
How are they going? Are they 100%, or are they carrying a little bit?
No, I'm not going to hold anything back. All 3 will categorically play.
Yeah.
So, look, it was. There's no doubt it was a risk and reward scenario for Matty and Hendo in the second semi, and the risk was that we might lose and then they'd have to play the following week. So we bought them 1 week, and we bought an extra week by winning and getting through to the grand final. But all 3 have trained all of last week, trained Saturday, will train tonight, and so all 3 are right, short of something going wrong in the next couple of days, but they're all ready to go.
So we translate into coaches talk, they're all out.
No, I think the translation there is that definitely. Look, I think that it was a smart move to give those 2 guys a rest in that second semi-final. Obviously, buying them the extra week's really good. Matty struggled late with a hamstring. Was it hamstring soreness that was? It
was his first game back from a hamstring.
Yep.
And it was just tightness. He just was tight. Having not played, we deliberately didn't play him the week before against Diggers in the slush. So it was his first game back, and first game back you're supposed to manage their minutes, but it was pretty hard to manage minutes in a final. So yeah, he was just tight, but he's right to go. And look, Diggers did the same thing with Tommy Gleeson.
Yep.
They didn't play him against us, and he was right to go last week. So we think in hindsight it was the right thing to do.
Yep. Speaking of Tommy Gleeson and I guess the Diggers Rest side, you faced them earlier on in the year, and look, I'm going to be controversial, but we almost saw a little bit of deja vu because you did lose to them in the middle of the year last year, and you've lost to them again this year. When you did drop that game to them, was there any sort of concerns? Was there any sort of feeling of, we might have a little bit of a slip again, because you did lose the following week as well to, I think it was to Wallen, and maybe there was a little bit of concern about how the boys were travelling?
Yeah, look, I don't like this cliche too much, but our under-18 coach, Peter Lord, came up to me and said losing the game to Diggers was the best thing that could happen. And yeah, losing, but what he meant was, and he was right, we were winning by big margins, and we weren't learning anything. Success is a poor teacher, and there was parts of our games that had started to slip, and that game we addressed them, and within 2 weeks we were back playing Rupert's Wood again, and we'd fixed them, and it was what we needed to get back to playing the sort of footy we wanted to play. So thank you very much, Diggers.
The games we've seen you struggle in, though, and we'll touch on the Lancefield game. They really put enormous pressure on your ball carriers, and it just seemed like you weren't able to get your running game going when teams put an enormous amount of pressure on you. This weekend, you're going to expect Rupo going to come out and absolutely put it. I mean, this is the most pressure these guys are going to experience. In seeing how your team has struggled a little bit with some of the pressure situations, what have you got in line? And have you addressed it as a coach? Or the players are obviously aware that some teams, I mean, Broadford, even though you absolutely poleaxed them, there are times when clubs put enormous pressure on, and they do tend to shut you down a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they shut us down in those two games with 100-point margins.
No,
but,
I'm talking about in the third quarter. I mean, they did a fair bit of work on your Lansfield. I don't think you scored. I might have got 1 or 2 goals in that quarter, just due to their pressure. They just went one-on-one footy with you.
There was a few games, and both those games there was quite a few numbers behind the ball. So that's something that we've had to deal with at different times. When when sides are putting numbers behind the ball, it's about them limiting us as opposed to scoring themselves. So that was a bit of some of the stuff we had to deal with during the year. The last 2 weeks that we've played, the last 2 games have been really high-pressure games. We've come from behind. We were level in the first game, level at quarter time with Diggers. So they were both games where it was all about absorb the pressure, deal with it. It's a different tempo, and I've got no worries at all that the players have been able to do that, because you don't get much more pressure and high stakes than a final. And we've been able to deal with both those sides, come from behind, and then basically win going away in good form in the later part of the game. So I'm comfortable.
I guess that last question to close it off was around that. It looked in those first 2 finals like you were a little bit slow out of the blocks. A couple of the guys really struggled to get into the tempo of the game. I think your ball use and your actual movement ahead of the football was a little bit restricted. Is that something that you have addressed with the way you want to use the football? Because obviously early in the year, you guys' first quarters were, Yendi touched on it in about 12 weeks in a row, about how you guys were blowing opposition sides out of the park in that first quarter. But those 2 games that I've seen so far in this final series, it has taken you guys probably... Diggers a little bit less. Halfway through the second quarter, I think you guys really started to swing into gear. But certainly that first game against Rupert's Wood, they really had most of the momentum in that first half.
I think. Sorry. And look, the way and you're right. The way I saw it, if a team puts pressure on you, it takes your kicking game away. You are a really good kicking side, and especially being able to. You use the ground, big grounds, really well, lateral movement and that sort of stuff. And when the pressure goes on, you just don't get the time to be able to do that skill, and that's probably what I'm more saying, that when the one-on-one footy was going on, you weren't able to use your foot skills, and they were able to just probably close you down a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And look, in full credit to Rupert's Wood in the first game, that was elite pressure. They brought it, and when I suppose Richmond the other night, they just didn't give Geelong time and space. We didn't have as much time and space as perhaps we've been used to, but you adjust, and the good players will adjust to the tempo, and that's what happened. So, Diggers, as you said, Gav, they did, bring again good pressure, and we were able to absorb it and adjust. And there's no doubt that coming off the end of the season, a slushy home and away, win against Diggers, the tempo wasn't probably quite there, but we were able to adjust and adjust to it pretty quickly. And I've got no doubt that we'll be right to go minute 1 on Sunday.
Fantastic, mate. Well, Jeff, we do appreciate you joining us here on the RDFNL Grand Final Football Netball Show, and wish you all the best for the big one on Sunday.
Thanks, Shandy. It's been a pleasure.
Good luck, John.
Thanks, boys. Pleasure.
Welcome back to the RDFNL Grand Final Show, live here at the Melton Toyota showrooms. Fantastic arrangement here. Love getting down here with Nabby, Ryan Harrow and the team doing a fantastic job. Of course, the Melton Toyota, proud sponsors of 100.7 Highlands FM, and of course the RDFNL. And a big thanks also to Massive Rangers Glass. For those who are just watching us online or catching up with us for the first time today, we covered a bit of netball action. We caught up with Alan Watson from Lansfield, the A-grade coach. They're taking on Romsey this week, and Kim Bailey joined us. Tara Murray was in, and she'll be joining us a little bit later on. We've just spoken with Jeff Andrews, the senior football coach, and Paul. We've got another superstar with us from the college or the Shark Tank.
Nico, congratulations, welcome, mate, and congratulations on getting the club through to its first RDFL Grand Final.
Thanks very much, Paul.
Even though
I've been
asked not to, you are not the senior coach, you are the assistant. Let's make that clear.
Definitely, Kev may be watching, and I'm definitely an assistant coach, but happy to be here. Thank you very much.
All right, I'm going to ask the hardest question first, and one everyone's Putty. What's happening this week is he going to play?
Well, we hope for sure that he plays. He'll probably train tonight. He'll definitely train Thursday, and he'll need to run on Saturday at probably 90% for him to play on Sunday. On Sunday, he's 21 days, so we're sort of really on the limit of what we can do with a hammy, but
A 70% to him putt down the forward line.
It could be a winner. Definitely.
Definitely a winner.
Definitely a winner because he can kick goals. I think he did play out
It's just his
half
sheer
forward at the
physical
Cannons.
size. Man's a monster. I mean, and we know Macedon's backline's probably not their strength, and they're going to have to take a really good player to man him up. So, if I was the coach, and I'm probably Fitchy's thinking along the same lines, I'd be looking at a 70% putt to put down forward, but I understand you can't take injured players or not fit players into a grand final. So, big call, tough call for your club, because that means someone's going to miss out if he comes in.
exactly. So we'll leave the missing out speech to Kev, because Kev's getting paid the money, and he can be the devil on that one. Thanks.
That is taking the soft, easy option here, mate. If you want a senior coach, you've got to do the hard calls.
So, sorry, Andy. Obviously, I won't let Yandy broach this one because he got yelled down and howled down and all that sort of stuff on the radio a couple of weeks ago.
Specific words
So,
used.
Fitzy, I apologise for bringing this up, but how good's it feel to have the monkey off the back?
Oh, I've got to say, Gav, for the fact that Kev said there wasn't a hoodoo, the relief in the change rooms that afternoon, and I'm sure Tara will attest to the fact that there was some pretty relieved, albeit I'm only 2 years at the club, there was some pretty relieved elderly statesmen of the club.
It was funny because Yandy asked the question, and Kev, of course, was really trying to get rid of that stigma. But after the game, I was in the rooms talking to a lot of the guys, and pretty much the first comment from every Rupert's Wood person I spoke to was, "Thank God the monkey's gone."
I can't remember the words you used. Can you?
I don't think we're allowed to use the words on TV. We certainly can on radio, apparently, but not on TV. But no, look, it's got to be a good feeling. Clearly, that's had a positive impact for you guys because your performance since then. Obviously, look, there were stages during that game where that Riddle game, if Brent Stankham kicked that goal, it would have brought it back to 9 points. And we were talking about it in the commentary box that I think we certainly would have seen a little bit of tightening up if that had to come under 10 points. But luckily you went up the other end and Lockie Muir was able to bury the game with a beautiful snapper goal. So obviously that's gone now. It's off the back. You've picked up that win again on the weekend. You guys were impressive against Diggers Rest and got a fantastic win. All guns blazing, all pistons firing going into this week.
Yeah, we were, just to go back, we probably, against Riddle, they did get close, and there was a couple of times there where Kev was really impressed with the group, and us as coaches were really impressed with the group, that they showed some resolve and were able to get out of the trouble or the risk. We sort of also, with that hoodoo, we saw Riddle as a bit of a twofold effect because they'd been a high advocate in the league of the fact that we were maybe a choking team. So we saw it twofold. We can knock them out and do the rest of the comp a favour, and we can also get the monkey off our back. And moving on from there, obviously we'd indicated a few weeks ago that, similar to what Jeff said when they lost against Diggers, for us losing the first final, albeit was disappointing, it wasn't going to be all doom and gloom because we knew we would get on Clark, and not that the ground's going to win it for you, but it can certainly be an advantage, and I think we showed that on the weekend that it suits a fast-running side like Rupo.
The Cats have belted you early in the year. You were competitive in close. You're competitive in close. You haven't beaten them this year, and it's got to play on your players' mind. This week at training, obviously you're going to be working on it. You've come up with some strategies to try and beat them. Where do you think your team's got it over Macedon?
Well, all in all, we back the fact that we're pretty even across the board. We probably don't have the top 8 that they've got, but we figure our bottom 8, our bottom 6 are fair players. And I think the first half against Macedon, that first final, there was a couple of times where we were able to apply enough pressure where, maybe a Doyle or a Militech, I think it was down back, might have made a couple of errors. Kev's big on pressure football, so we'll be looking to bring that pressure game.
You haven't been able to sustain the 4 quarters of pressure. I mean, you played 2 good quarters against Macedon, against Riddle and against Macedon, and then the breaks went on. And that would have to be a concern to be able to try and maintain 4 quarters of pressure. The only way you're going to win it is really to get 4 quarters of enormous pressure and try and stop their kicking game.
Oh, for sure. we looked as a playing group and as a coaching group at that first game against Macedon, and in simple terms, we under-rotated. We had probably 5 midfielders that were running on the spot, running on a treadmill. So we've addressed a few things, and we'd like to think that on the weekend we were in a better spot rotation-wise, and we think this week we'll be better prepared for that as well.
They've got stars everywhere in their side, the Cats, and let's be honest, you're going to have to do a shutdown role on a couple. Who do you think the ones in your coaching staff are you going to do work on?
Well, I'd say the biggest 3 that we'll look at, apart from Nipper Wright, who you spoke about earlier with Jeff, Mark Worth has hurt us this year, so we'd look at a runner with him. Maybe if Putty played, and Aidan Muir, would fit the running mould there. We'd probably look at putting someone on Dick off half back. We wouldn't let him run off like Harrison was maybe able to do against Diggers in that last final. And I hazard a guess that we would probably concentrate on Casey Summerfield in the centre, because he's a big-bodied first attempt. Tommy knocks it down his throat 9 times out of 10. So we'd be looking at paying him some attention, I would think.
Mate, you guys come into some pretty good form, and being a former journo, I want to say your win against Riddle has just ended a whole lot of stories. Riddle and Romsey have been the last 16, 17, 18 grand finals. You guys have got the monkey off the back, so you're killing off a few stories there. We need to start a few...
It stopped big footy a bit, didn't
absolutely. It's come to a complete halt.
Only because it terrified you what happened before the game.
But saying that, you beat Riddle, who beat you, who knocked you out the previous year. You've beaten Diggers, who were last year's premiers and have also beaten you in the finals. You're coming into this game in some pretty red-hot form.
Yeah, we're, as a club and as a playing group, the boys are really excited. I won't say the term there's no pressure on them, because it's a big game, and it's obviously not a home and away game. So there is pressure on, but we feel, I think the players have got the belief that we're at least play Macedon 4 times, we're going to win once. So if the win's on Sunday, we'll take it, Yendi, for sure.
So, going back to that first final, obviously I didn't get to see the Anzac Day game, but I did see the second half of the game out at the Shark Tank. But most of the focus being on that first final. Dean Putt dominated early.
Yeah.
He was well on top of Tommy Waters. He was great around the ground. But when Dean Putt left that field, the momentum shifted significantly. If Dean doesn't play, or if Dean does play, gets injured early, is there a contingency for what you're going to do with Tom Waters? Because the reality was that Tom took over the contest once Dean went out of the game.
Well, I'm thinking a chainsaw. I've got a chainsaw out on my back table, so maybe there's a start. But a lot of it, as I said, we'd be super confident as a team if Dean Putt plays, because having come from with Kevin from Gisborne and seeing Tommy Waters, in his prime, I think this year with Putty playing against him is the first time that I've seen him try to initiate body contact. He's usually a jumper, and he usually will shy away from the actual body contact. So this year, there's especially the game at the Shark Tank, they ended up like they were waltzing around on a wedding night, and even that first half against Macedon. So I guess what we'll do is, if we haven't got Dean Putt, we'll be just instructing Aidan and Dean Halliwell to make a contest. So
has there been a thought process around engaging a bigger body with him? You've got Nash Egan up back, who's a big unit. Is there thoughts of, I know you're trying to get with Aidan in there or with Halliwell in there, you're trying to get jump for jump, but is there any thought of trying to negate that contest
with a bigger
around
body?
the ruck with
I don't
even
body? Know, Gav, if we've got a bigger body. Nash is thick set, but I don't know that he's got the height. Maybe the fella that we switched forward last week could go into the ruck. He can do everything else, so maybe he could play in the ruck.
You do have the best intercept marking player, and I think he's the best player in the competition, Brady Chambers. You pushed him forward. Is it something you've done a few times throughout the year? Because if you do that on the weekend, that could be the ace up your sleeve to turn the game for you if you need it. But at the same time, you rob Peter to pay Paul because his intercept marking is by far the best in the competition.
Well, I mean, honestly speaking, last week was one of the few weeks that we pushed him forward. But Chambo's the sort of player, he's got so much confidence in his ability, he'll make the change. Like this year, there would have been, out of say 10 times, we've made 3 changes, he'll do it 7 times. So he'll make a decision whether we have to equalise or something like that. He's got, as I said to you before, PT, he's got so much faith in his ability, and the boys play well around him. Most of the boys would like him to play down back because he offers a structure and a support. But when he goes up forward, obviously the defenders are certainly get the furrow in their brow.
Yeah, we do appreciate you joining us here on the RDFNL Grand Final Show in the lovely surroundings here at Melton Toyota. Always fantastic to get down here, and we wish you all the best on the weekend, mate, and look forward to putting you guys putting on a good show for us.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
All the best, mate.
All the best.
Welcome back to the RDFNL Grand Final Show, football netball show, live here at the Melton Toyota showrooms. Great surroundings, got some great vehicles behind us here. Come down and check it out. And of course, Paulie, we do have to thank our great sponsors for their support here of the broadcast.
Mate, we do, and Melton Toyota is one of the major sponsors for us, but we do have some others. Masson Rangers Glass, go up and see Brett Vernon and the boys at Masson Rangers Glass and Lad Road, New Gisborne. Their phone number is 54282 and we have a new one for Grand Final Day, mate. We've picked up another one, so Blooming Produce, which is over in Romsey. At 51 Main Road, Romsey. They're open 7 days a week. So if you want any stock feed, any pet supplies, garden supplies, or any firewood and briquettes, go and see Craig at Blooming Produce. And their phone number is 0408 122 731.
And let's not forget the Toyota certified used vehicle deal, just for this week only. Grand Final week, $1,000 off. A special from Nabby and the boys here at Melton Toyota.
Absolutely, Paulie. I must say, Jess and I, we moved into our new house over the footy season, and she's tapped me on the shoulder. She wants to do some gardening stuff to get the new garden done up. So
Blooming Produce.
I'm down there, mate. I'll be down there as of next Monday. I'll be rolling up there in the car that I need to get replaced here at Melton Toyota. Look. They'll be getting plenty of value out of my sponsorship, mate.
We've seen what you drive. You need a Toyota.
It is falling apart at the seams, mate. We won't talk about that car, but we will talk about the under 8.5s grand final, the blockbuster between Wallen and Rupertswood. Wallen heading into this game, well, they were premiership favourites before the finals, having been the only team since Macedon a few years ago to beat Rupertswood. This one is going to be a cracker.
We've seen it. We've seen Wallen a couple of times. We've been absolutely impressed with them, especially across their half-back line. That's Wallen's strength. And they've got some really, really talented kids who played some senior footy. Knight has played senior footy. Young Tobacco's a terrific player, and we muck around with his name on the game. It's great fun.
He's been great during the final series, hasn't he?
Yeah. Birch, all the long sleeve defenders, we noticed on the weekend, all their defenders wear long sleeve. They all look like they've got dark hair down here with a headband on. Very hard to call, but their run and power comes from their half-back line, and they've been dominant so far for us. And be able to have the ability to flip Knight, who's the leading goal kicker in the league, down to centre half-back when they needed to last week and balance that side up is a real strength for them. Then we shoot over to Rupo. I mean, look, Paddy Scanlon, he's been a dominant player. I think if we had to give a trophy out for best player in the finals, Paddy Scanlon would be getting that at the moment. And young Sutton, he kicked 5 goals in his game last time we saw him in the corresponding game. A really, I think they call him Milky or Snowy, one of those white hair. A really dominant forward when they get the ball down to them. I like the way Rupo play. They play open brand footy, and I'm really impressed with Rupo.
Yeah, look, I think even before I get into that, these 3 games this weekend are probably the best 3 grand finals games that we're going to see in a long time. The previous couple of years, we know that Rupertswood's dominated the under-18s competition, and they've certainly got the results that way. But this year, Wallen and Rupo, clearly the best 2 sides in this competition, and it's going to be really exciting. And like PT said, I think Wallen put the first game aside when Rupertswood gave him a bit of a touch-up. There was external factors there that I think impacted Wallen in that game of footy. It's been great. I think they must have listened to us on the radio because young Nathan Fowler's been playing predominantly forward now, which I think is a really, really tough matchup for anyone that comes up against them. We've seen the Knight thrown between centre-half back and centre-half forward, which has been great for them. Their half-back line has absolutely dominated this final series so far. So I'm really looking forward to what Wallen put out there. Now that the Grinley thing's out of the way, these guys are now concentrating on their footy, and they've been exceptional the last 2 weeks. Rupo, an absolutely outstanding final series. Let's be honest, let's be straightforward with it. Paddy Scanlon has absolutely dominated most of the contests he's been involved in. I've been really impressed with Connor Franti-Glenn off half-back. I think he's been a really significant bonus for Rupert's Wood, just hard at it, runs the lines, does it really, really well. So there's two sides. He's going to have to be at his best, because if Fowler plays forward, if Knight plays forward, if Jake Hall plays forward, that's where Rupert's would have got to get their matchups. And the weather's supposed to be 17 and sunny on the weekend, so that'll certainly suit Wallen because they've got that size. Jake Hall around the ground is sensational, and they've got those guys that can take those marks and get that ball moving on. So that's going to be a danger for Rupo, because I think they just lack probably the height to go with Wallen at this stage.
And Wallen, they're not afraid to use the footy they use by hand and foot better than any under 18s team I've ever seen. And they run really well. I thought they might have got lost out at Clark Oval the other day, but they played a really good brand of footy. And you're right, and Hall is the key. I mean, he's a really mobile ruckman, and he's going to cause a lot of issues. I mean, Rupo are just a well-drilled, very even side, and it's going to be a cracker of a game.
Tara, who's going to win this one and why?
I'm going to stick with Rupert's Wood. I think they've got the experience at this time of year as well, and that can come in really, really handy come a grand final team. They're going for their 4th straight premiership. They haven't lost many matches, and you look... They lost to Wallen during the year, but they made a statement in that first final to go, we're not giving up our title without a fight. That they've come back and go, yep, we're going to be there. I think it'll be a pretty close one. We have seen quite a few of under 18 and a half grand finals been pretty one-sided the last few years. So I think there'll be a lot more excitement for this grand final than there has been in previous years.
Well, your tip? The Magpies, mate. I just think, after what I've seen, if they shut Scanlon down, and which I'm sure they're going to try, I just think they've just got too much running power, and that half-back line has been absolutely dominant. They're not very tall, but boy, they're ferocious around the footy, and I like Wallen.
Gav?
Yeah, I'm on the Magpies as well. I think they'll win it. I'm with Tara, though. I think really it's going to be under 10 points either way, whatever happens. But Mahoney coming into the side last week, Fowler up forward, Knight up forward, I think they're going to be really, really hard to stop if the conditions are good. And with the football coming out of the middle through Tobacco, Nielsen, Valeroff through the middle of the ground, and the young fella Birch off that half-back line, I think Wallen will settle themselves after that first final and get the win.
Yeah, Vala's a real key to him. He's a terrific midfielder, that kid. And last week, I think he was the best player for him last week.
I think... I want Wallen to win. I think Rupert's Wood, just based on history, they'll get the job done because they've had so much success in grand finals. But I think a win to this Wallen group will be the catalyst to spur on the Wallen senior team for years to come, because they just fell a little bit short. And to get you guys like Nathan Fowler, Birch, these guys are going to be playing regular senior footy next year. If they do it with a premiership medallion around their neck heading into 2018, it's going to be magnificent for them. Just quickly, we've got the big reserves game between two quality sides as well. Wallen against the red hot Sunbury Kangaroos outfit. Yeah, well, the Kangaroos, aren't they on fire? They've their first final victory was expected. Let's be honest. We've talked about it a couple of times on the radio. Between them, the top 4 sides lost 6 games. Top 2 sides won each. Top 3rd and 4th 2 games each. That's phenomenal. They of course, those 2 finals, 3rd versus 6th, 4th versus 5th, were one-sided. Kangaroos won their first one by 57 points. But what they did to Rupert's Wood in the second week was unbelievable. 105 points against the second side in the competition. Amazing. They've got pace, they've got smarts, they've got experience. They're just really, really well balanced right across the field. Wallen's been ultra impressive so far over the final series as well. Timmy Robertson up forward's been spectacular.
The one for me, for Wallen, and I think he's probably the key this weekend, is Josh Ruth across half-back, because he's really done a lot.
Runner-up in the league best and fairest too.
Absolutely, and he just sets them up behind the football. He knows how to cut it off. He knows how to get them going forward. And I think if Ruth, Bird in the middle and Robertson up forward can play at their ultimate, they're going to be right in the contest.
Who's winning this one?
Oh, look, I'd like to say the Kangaroos. Yeah, I think the Kangaroos, after what we saw last week and what they did to Rupo. But, I mean, Wallen themselves, Benny Shraven could be anything if he wants to be. And it depends, I mean, he's in front of a big crowd this week. It's like, and the same thing for the Tunbury Kangaroos, Dylan Wright. It's the scene set for Dylan, who loves a crowd and loves showing off. When you've got a big crowd, Dylan Wright could be a big X factor for the Kangaroos. Like Frost, who's kicked 23 goals for him this year for the Magpies. Really important players, and Robinson. But then you go over to Canales, is it? Or,
Yep.
Old Matty Baird in the middle, old Polly. He can get a bit of ball, and the Sergeant Schultz up forward. I mean, he kicked 5 last week. I just think Sunbury's going to have a little bit too much firepower for them.
Yeah, I'm with PT there. Too much firepower from the Kangaroos. Dylan Wright, Schultz, Jackson Badley, Matty Baird, Scott Puxley. It's just
and throwing big Kaufman as well.
And Kaufman. It's enough for to bomber.
Yeah.
Absolute. Sink the boot into it. He's a ripping kick. So for me, I think it'll be the Kangaroos, probably by 3 to 4 goals.
Yeah, I'm on the Kangaroos too, and I spoke to Ruperswood after they lost to the Kangaroos, and they played both the Kangaroos and Wallen in those first 2 weeks of the finals, and they said Sunbury Kangaroos had the game to beat Wallen. They were shocked at that match and that result, just the way the Kangaroos came out on fire, and I think they'll take a lot of confidence into that game.
Look out for a key matchup that hopefully does eventuate. Have Josh Canellis at half forward, the reigning Scarborough medalist for 2017, and then you've got the runner-up Josh Ruth carving it up across half-back. If that happens, I'll look out. It's going to be a match made in heaven. I'll jump on the Sunbury Kangaroos bandwagon. I think the Dylan Wright show is just going to be too big, probably bigger than the senior grand final, which is what we're going to be talking about now, gents. We'll get your tips and thoughts on how this one will play out.
Oh, okay. So, look, so far the games over the final series amongst the top 3 sides have been real arm wrestles. They've been tough, hard, fought-out games. There hasn't been a lot of momentum. We probably haven't got the showtime that we might have thought we were going to get out of Rupertswood, getting on the outside, getting that run, getting that link up. Even Macedon getting that run, getting that link up. The pressure's been immense across all of the finals so far. Putt's a real key. Has to play. If he doesn't play, Tom Waters has got way too much control around, and not just so much the ruck contest around the ground. After Dean Putt left the ground, Tom Waters dominated in the air around the ground. Prior to that, it was Putt that was dominating around the ground in the air. So that's a key one for them. For the Cats, they need their big guns to fire. It's as simple as that. If Sean Harrison, Jason Cook, Daniel Markworth get on top, they're going to be really, really hard to stop for the Sharks. In saying that, I've really, really been impressed with the Sharks in and under ball winning ability over the last couple of weeks. It's always been a question mark, but Lockie Muir and Brett Swallow have done an amazing job at the bottom of the packs for them. I think Dave Morris has gone into the middle more in the last 2 weeks since the Macedon game, and had a really big impact, just that body in the middle. And if Sean Hetherington can not kick 1 goal 6, and he can kick straight, he's certainly, because he is a goal-kicking midfielder, where Jason Cook's probably more a forward midfielder, where he kicks his goals forward. I think that's going to be the key for the Sharks. They really need to open it up. I think the Sharks need to get on top early. And withstand the run from the Cats, because there's no doubt the Cats have been much better than all of their opposition in the second halves this year. So Rubo's got to do what Diggers couldn't do to them last week and put early scoreboard pressure on.
Yeah. And I think obviously you've got the best defensive team this season against your best offensive side. There's not much difference between the two sides. Macedon per game during the home and away season conceded on average just under 40 points a game. Rupertswood was just under 45 points a game, and that puts them since 2011 in the top 4. The other two were Romsey in their dominant season in 2014, and Rupert's Wood that year as well. So you've got those two in the top 4. Offensively, Rupert's Wood they've averaged 120 points per game. Macedon's only about, I think, 112. So there's not much difference with them there. And the likely is finals are more a defensive game. You don't get that free-flowing score that you do, and they've kicked scores against a lot of these lower sides. So that's where it's going to come defensively, and there's not much difference between the two sides.
Paulie.
Yeah, no, look, I think the stars are aligning for the Cats. It's just they've got too much running power, and we've seen they're reasonably predictable in the middle. Tommy Waters taps it down to Summerfield, and Summerfield just chips out wide to Markworth, and they've got Dan Markworth, Matty Dick, who hits the ball at a million mile an hour, and if they don't get it, it goes out to Collins out on the wing, or Christensen. They have just got so much running power, and then you throw in the X factors in like Mills, who's had a pretty quiet year. Mills, he can stand up and kick a few goals when it needs to be. Kilmartin can take a big grab down forward, so if they do shut Matty Knox down and they do shut Cookie down, then they can go down to Kilmartin, so it opens up a few holes for him. And let's not forget Harrison, who's just one of probably the most spectacular player in the competition. I don't think Rupo can cover all the stars, and on a big ground, this is prime. These guys have been playing a long time together, and Macedon are due for they're due and they're primed for a flag. It's just everything's aligning. Nipper Wright deserves one. He's been there a long time through the tough years. Tommy Waters, if Putty plays, it's going to change the whole dimension of the game. But I'm from reading from Nico before, I'm probably a little leaning on the side of doubtful now. I'd love to see him down there, but he needs to play in the ruck for them to dominate this competition. If Putty plays, Rupo have got a chance. Brady Chambers, he can't be everywhere. If they put him down back, okay, they're getting the ball's coming in too easily into the Macedon forward line. They need him there. If they put him forward, they need to kick some scores. So it's a bit of a win-loss for him in that scenario. Hetherington and Swallow around the ball, but they've got to try and stop Casey Summerfield, who's the best in and under in the comp. And that's really hard. They've just got too much running power. They're used to playing on big grounds. Both teams use by foot very well. I think Rupo probably need to use their hands more to win this and try and cut Macedon up with some handball. If Macedon start using their feet, and it's a good quality, nice day with a lot of wind, the Cats will get this by about 20 points.
Starting from Gav, who is taking out the 2017 Doug McIntyre medal for best on ground?
Well, for a start, I'm with Paul. I think the Cats will win by about 4 goals. Best on ground, look, I'm going to go the old sentimental value here because I think he's gone through the tough times with the Cats. He stuck around. We gave him best on in the second semi just so we could have a chat to him, really, because we knew he'd be pretty happy about it. And Joffa mentioned before that he can't wipe the smile off his face. Big games, that's where he does his best work. We've seen him in the Interleague just dominate games of footy. So I'm going to go for Nipper Wright. I think Nipper Wright will win the best on ground.
Paulie?
No, I think Dan Markworth. I've been a fan of Dan's all year. He just seems to have so much space, so much time, and delivers the ball beautifully into the forward line. I think Dan Markworth, these days are made for guys who come out of AFL, and the pressure and that's not going to worry him. The only thing is that can he play 4 quarters of footy? He tends to get a few niggles throughout the day, so I think Dan Markworth will win the medal.
Tara?
I was thinking the same lines as Gav, actually. I've got in the footy record, I've got Nipper as well. I think the big stage, and obviously for him, this will mean a lot. He's been there through all of it. You've got a lot of guys who are still new to the club, haven't been through the hard times. He's been through the hard times, and he's popped up at the vital times so far in both of Macedon's 2 finals, and can't see the grand final being any different. I'm
going to be a point of difference, and people shouldn't take my word as gospel on this, but I'll no doubt I'll cop it. But Rupert's Wood to win just for a point of difference, and Doug McIntyre medal will hang around the 2016 Bowen medal winner's neck, Brent Swallow. So to go for a smoky here. So, but guys, team, we've reached to a cracking end to our 2017 RDFNL Grand Final show. Paulie, just reel off the sponsors to thank again, mate.
Yes, of course. Melton Toyota, they've been a sponsor to us throughout the league and the final series on for Highlands FM. To Macedon Rangers Glass and Brett Vernon, the boys of Macedon Rangers Glass and Blooming Produce over in Main Road, Romsey. They're our 3 major sponsors who have helped the radio station bring you the finals this year. And we say thank you very much to all of them.
And of course, thanks to Jeff Murray and Ken Helmore and all the camera team who have been doing a fantastic job. having us here today. And of course, Team 100.7 Highlands FM will be broadcasting from 9 a.m. at Romsey Park. The under 18 and halves, the reserve seniors, with all the updates over the course of the netball. It is one of the best days on the radio calendar anywhere in Victoria. This is where you get all the action.
Yeah,
Gav, Paul, Tara.
Can we make sure it doesn't snow?
It won't snow.
Great.
We rest assured, Romsey Park will not see any snow this weekend.
Yeah, in other words, it will now.
No, it's blue sky outside as we speak at the moment.
You know Rob Joey, Andy, let me tell you.
That's why I didn't get into the weather. Gav, Paul, Tara, thanks so much for joining us here as part of the first ever RDFNL Grand Final show live here at the Melton Toyota showrooms, and look forward to seeing seeing your brilliant write-ups in the Melton and Moorabool and Sunbury and Macedon Rangers Star Weekly newspapers. So one of the great reads going around.
Thank you, and we'll have coverage of all 7 games. So we'll cover all 4 netball and all 3 football.
Get the paper next Tuesday. That's what it's all about. Gents, thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to hearing your dulcet tones next Sunday morning, live, bright and early from 9 a.m. Thanks to Jeff Murray again and the team and Melton Toyota. This is us signing off.